an aggro with a specific faction.
It's also a place you can kind of meet other players and socialize with other players as well, right?
Of course.
Damn, fully multiplayer.
Hmm.
Cool. So now we know that our next destination is going to be that Bannery settlement. I'm going to talk about it a bit later as we get closer to it. But our objective is going to be to plunder that settlement to find the next clue, right?
Yes.
But for now, as we're sailing, maybe there's more you can tell us about the exact region we're in and the regions of Skull and Bones in general.
Yeah, so we're in the coast of Africa region here, and as you can see from the landscape, it's a bit of a arid landscape compared to some of the others in the game. And here, there's two major factions. There's the Confederation of Iguana, who are really more the local faction who have historically been here,
Mm-hmm.
and they're a nomadic faction and quite aggressive faction in terms of the game. But the thing about the people from the Confederation of Iguana is that they're nomadic partially by circumstances, and part of those circumstances is the fact that the Company Royale has moved into the location, and the Company Royale is really a mega corporation from France, and they're the colonial power who has disrupted the lives of the Confederation of Iguana. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole backstory and quite a bit of lore that can build up that sort of relationship.
Yeah, so one of the cool things about all this as well is that as we're sailing through and we see other ships passing us, the more you play the game, the more you find out that these ships actually have a lot of elements on them that are giving you information, right? First of all, you can see the equipments they have. So the ships we just passed, for example, they were equipped with a lot of cargo, but also the sails and the emblems they have will tell you which faction do they belong to and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, of course. So there's visual identifiers. There's all kinds of things that really help bring authenticity to the different factions in the game, whether it's visual, linguistic, you name it.
So a lot of work went into like making sure that when you're sailing through the coast of Africa, you feel that you're actually on the coast of Africa.
Absolutely.
There's also a lot of other elements like the wildlife, the vegetation, all of these things that make you really feel like you are actually sailing the coast of Africa, which is very nice.
Yeah, and if you want, you can. There is wildlife in the waters that you can be hunted by players, but not with the ships that we're sailing right now. Of course, Skull and Bones has all different kinds of ships, and you're encouraged to use those different ships in different ways. Some are better for combat, some are better for fast navigation, some for carrying large loads. And of course, there are very small ships that can go through narrow waterways and are useful for essentially hunting water-based animals. And so that is an opportunity that we could explore in the coast of Africa, but because I think we're trying to complete our investigation, we'll have to do that next time.
So I know that there's actually a lot of rivers to explore. Luckily for us, the rivers we're in now are large enough for us to sail with those rather large ships.
Yep.
But like you said, like some rivers you're gonna have to basically switch to a smaller ship, which might not be as well equipped. But that'll be the only way to get some of the resources that the region has to offer, right?
Yep. And so it pays to have a varied fleet of ships, it's fair to say.
Yes. All right, so we're going to get closer to that settlement in just a little bit. There's a couple of information that we need to keep in mind when we get closer. First of all, so far nobody's really bothering about us because we're just not being very aggressive, right? But the moment we attack the settlement, that's going to change, obviously.
Yeah.
That settlement belongs to the local faction. But we're not here to actually plunder any resources. We're here to find the clue. So what we're going to do before we start the plundering is we are going to plan our escape route to make sure that we don't get into too much trouble.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm almost there now. But essentially, yeah, that's the key thing about Skull and Bones. When you want to engage the combat, depending on your objective, you want to make sure you're prepared for it. So if you want to plunder all the way, then you need to make sure you're ready for a long fight. On the other hand, if you're just looking for one specific item, then you want to plan an escape and you want to make sure that you can run away without getting too much heat. Because the way the plunder feature works is that the longer the fight goes on, the harder it gets, the more there's going to be reinforcements, and the more aggressive these reinforcements are going to get.
But if I've learned anything playing the game, things will go wrong. So let's see what can happen.
Hopefully we'll make it alive. Alright, so I'm going to drop anchor now, open up my map, and I'm going to set my escape route for that shipwreck on the far east. And whenever we're ready, let's get started.
I'm ready.
Alright, let's go.
Let's do this. So as you can see here, a bunch of our crew are jumping overboard to essentially enter the settlement and begin the plundering action. And so the fantasy here is as we're out here fighting and holding our ground, they're in the settlement, scampering around, you know, stealing whatever they can get their hands on and looking for the thing that in this case we're looking for, which is the next clue in our investigation. And as you can see, those different stops across the top of the screen of what will happen during the plundering action if we survive is they will start sending out what they find while our crew is in there on small ships for us to pick up. So if they do their job right, we will get our clue in the first package, and then we can make our escape. Obviously, the longer the battle goes on, the more at risk we're at here in this kind of confined space.
Yeah, but that's also how you get the highest rewards, right?
Exactly. So if you can stick it out all the way to the end, of course you're going to plunder a heck of a lot. But as you can see here, we are facing stiff competition. Yeah.
So my strategy usually when we plunder settlement is the beginning's pretty chill, I want to say, all things considered.
Yep.
So what I try to do is I try to damage the tower first before all the big reinforcements come in. But in that case, we're getting a lot of heat from those flamethrowers.
Yes,
so.
It's not super chill at the moment, it turns out. And the tower is also, I see that you're taking some heavy hits from the tower.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, depending on the enemy you're facing, obviously you can see that there's different weak spots you can hit for extra damage, but they're also going to have different kind of weapons who might inflict different kind of damage on your ship, so you need to be kind of prepared for that as well.
Yes. Having a well-rounded strategy never hurts, because, as we mentioned, things will go wrong.
Yes.
And it is quite chaotic at the moment. But
I think we're almost there. Yeah, yes. I just got the clue, so now we can run away.
Let's do it
before all the big trouble comes.
Perfect.
So if you just follow me, I know where we're going.
Okay.
Alright, so like you can see on the screen, we're leaving the plunder area now, so that means any potential loot, extra loot that we could have gotten will be forfeited at this point.
Oh boy.
But we don't care because we have what we need.
Yeah, our escape is not yet guaranteed though.
Yes.
That's fair to say.
And there's, like you were saying before, there's the Company Royale fighting here with local factions, so you can see some of that conflict happening right here.
Yeah, and that's part of the living world of Skull and Bones, and in this case, I think it's going to work to our advantage here, because the Confederation of Iguana is going to be sort of torn about who to aggro more, us or the Company Royale.
Alright, so far so good. I'm going to use a repair kit just to fix my ship a little bit.
Yep.
I've seen better days. How's it looking for you? Are you able to make it out alive?
Yeah, I'm gonna be okay. I'm kind of running close to this Company Royale ship, so I'm gonna be curious to see. They don't seem to have any issue with us, but hopefully. Oh yeah. Yep. So they're under attack from the Confederation of Iguana, which is great news. Cool. Because that means I'm getting away.
It's quite ironic that we're being saved by the same people that we just attacked.
Yes.
But I think it's looking good, man. At least on my side, it's looking like it's gonna get quiet soon.
Nice. Passing a shipwreck here.
Yeah, there's a lot of flamethrower action behind you. The next clue at a shipwreck next to Dewey, so that's where we're gonna sail now.
All right.
The other thing I noticed when I was reading the clue is that there's actually some graphics that you can display that shows the clue written in a language that I don't really understand or can't read. So maybe you can tell us more about this.
Yeah, I mean, we are obviously inspired by the people of the region, and so we've worked really closely with historians as well as language and culture experts to make sure that we're being accurate and being taking that inspiration as far as we can in terms of showing the authenticity that comes from the different factions in this region, or I should say from portraying the different factions in this region.
And yeah, another thing that I like a lot about, talking about regional factions and regional cultures is the shanties. I'm going to play one right now, so maybe you can talk to us a bit more about shanties in the game.
Yeah, so the way I see it is we really have 3 different types of shanties in the game. Of course, we have your classic pirate shanties that I think people come to expect, myself included, but we also have some language specific shanties like we were talking about, some that are not translated and are kept in the language of the local factions, which I think is very cool and really exciting. And in addition to that, we also have certain shanties that are really specific to the world lore of our game. So shanties about the characters in our game, about some of the legendary kingpins, about some of the myths and the overall fantasy of our game.
Nice, very nice. So yeah, as we setting a bit, we can enjoy the different sceneries and changing the lighting as we get closer to nighttime. And one thing I like as well when I'm sailing and there's not too much combat or action going on is taking advantage of the different cameras that we have in our game.
So yeah, absolutely. Really I mean, if you take the time to make your ship look awesome, you want to celebrate it when you have a moment, you know.
I mean, that's the key thing about a pirate, right? You take pride into making your ship impressive and good looking.
Exactly. You just like your hand is going to be encrusted with rings. You also got to have your ship encrusted with cool stuff.
Yes. And then the other thing that I find are both quite fun, but also very distracting is obviously the world is really big, right? Mm-hmm. And you set sail thinking, okay, I'm gonna go look for something specific. And then as you set sail, you look around and you see one thing interesting. And if you, like me, you'll get tempted to find out what it is. And then you lose focus, basically, and you get distracted by other things. And then you forget why you were at sea in the first place.
But that's all right. We're happy to have players get lost in our world. That's part of the goal. And I think that was part of what it was like to be a pirate, was to
I guess so, yeah.
See opportunities and seize them in the moment. And so,
yeah. But in our case, we can't get distracted because our time is limited.
We're on a mission.
Yes, and I'm now arriving to that shipwreck we were looking for. So I'm just going to get a little closer, drop anchor, and then I'll read the third outpost called the Peloton. I'm going to show you a little bit how that place looks because it looks quite amazing. But I also want to, I would like to ask you a bit more about NPCs in the game in general and like different vendors and...
Yeah, so we have vendors or hawkers, you might call them, who are the people who are really going to sell you all the different things in the world that you are able to buy and consume, and there is many. I mean, when it comes to ingredients for upgrading your ship, things to feed your crew, things for upgrading your weapons, upgrading your appearance, all those kinds of things you're going to get through hawkers, as well as the ability to take on new contracts, new opportunities, maybe even pay off factions. Like, for example, if we had an ongoing feud with the Confederation of Iguana based on our plunder earlier, we could potentially pay off somebody at an outpost like this who's related to that faction. But in addition to those characters, we also have pirate kingpins in our world. And so I mentioned John Scurlock a minute ago. He's one of the first pirate kingpins that players are going to meet, and he really stands as an example of the kind of kingpin the player is going to want to become.
Cool. So I like that you said he's one of the first, because I know there's more. I know we can't talk about it yet, but I know there's more. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I also believe that when you start engaging with those kingpins, they will look at you based on your reputation. They will look at you based on your actions, and depending on that, you might get different contracts.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole world of Skull and Bones is about infamy, and so the player really starts as an outcast, and they want to rise and become an infamous kingpin. And so those contracts and those relationships you're going to build with other kingpins are going to grow and change based on your infamy in the world. And actually, one of the things I'm really proud of is the whole world of Skull and Bones is very reactive. So the actions the player does, the infamy they gain, the player the other characters in the world really recognize it and respond to that.
Cool. Another thing I really like about Outposts in general is that sometimes you're just walking around, not really sure. You're not necessarily looking for anything specific. In our case, we are looking for something specific. I'm just enjoying the scenery a little bit. But then every now and then you pass by something and you hear weird sounds, and I know that there's a lot of stuff in the game out there, and I've asked around like what's going on, and nobody really knows.
Well, there are certainly surprises, treasures, tricks, and everything to be found in these areas, in these outposts. And I will spoil nothing.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot to discover. I played the game quite a lot myself, and there's a lot of outposts I still haven't fully explored. So So all that being said, I still haven't found this treasure. So from the clue, if I remember correctly, it said that the treasure is buried in a stone circle grave kind of thing. So
At sea, you'll need to pay close attention to the condition of your ship and the morale of your crew. Your crew are a pack of vicious raiders and rovers who will mutiny against you if not kept well-fed and happy. If your ship sinks, you'll lose some progress and respawn at the nearest discovered den or outpost. The good news is that most of your cargo will be recovered, and you'll have the opportunity to retrieve the rest from the wreckage. But you'd better be quick, as other players can also steal it. As a pirate captain, your reputation is everything, and our game tracks this through infamy. The higher your infamy, the more opportunities you'll get. One of the many ways to grow your infamy is to take up contracts. These are deals that you can make with other pirates in the world. Contracts can have great rewards if you're successful, or costs if you fail. You can also gain infamy by completing other activities, such as exploration, plundering, treasure hunts, investigations, dynamic events, and much more. You can undertake these either solo or with other players. The world of Skull and Bones is filled with riches and resources that you'll be able to gather as you explore. Lagoons and rivers are teeming with dangerous wildlife that you can hunt for animal skins and meat. You'll also be able to harvest a variety of raw materials, such as ore and wood, that can be refined and used for crafting. Crafting is an essential activity for you to progress as an infamous pirate. Obtain blueprints and use your refined resources to craft stronger ships, weapons, and armors. In Skull and Bones, ships serve many different purposes. Cargo ships are slower, but useful if you need to transport large volumes of loot. Navigation ships sail faster, but have less cargo space and lower hull HP. Firepower ships have more gun ports, allowing you to deal higher damage, but are more challenging to maneuver. Similarly, you can craft a wide array of unique weapons and armors, from Greek fires to giant ballistae to rocket launchers and mortars, as well as different armor types, which have varying strengths and weaknesses against incoming attacks. With your new fleet and growing arsenal, create a loadout based on your personal playstyle to become a force of destruction. Out in the open ocean, opportunities and threats are abundant. Use your spyglass to identify lucrative trade routes or wealthy merchant ships and assess your prey's cargo and firepower. Strategize a plan of attack based on your opponent's defenses and take advantage of their weak points to deal more damage. Sinking your foes from afar rewards you with only a portion of their cargo, as some of it will be lost to the depths. Getting in close to execute a boarding maneuver will help maximize your gains. But beware, you can turn from predator to prey in a heartbeat if you attract the unwanted attention of privateers, the merciless pirate hunters that patrol the seas. If you enjoy the thrill of the hunt, you can also seek out other players and rain terror on them. Such PvP battles are high-stakes activities that can be rewarding if you emerge victorious. From your spoils of battle, personalize your individual look with outfits that command respect. You can also select from a multitude of ship customization options to instill fear in your enemies. With the wind in your sails, journey to the furthest reaches of the Indian Ocean, from the coast of Africa to the East Indies. Encounter extreme weather events like violent storms and monstrous rogue waves. Keep your eyes peeled for outposts, which are safe spots where you'll be able to dock your ship for a short rest from the perilous seas. Here, you can trade with traveling merchants and clandestine smugglers selling rare and illegal goods. Uncover buried bounties at outposts as you decipher treasure maps obtained through your voyages. Although all the content in Skull and Bones can be done solo, you might enjoy ruling the seas with your friends. While sailing, you can also easily invite other pirates you encounter to group up. Synergize your different playstyles, ships, and weapons to defeat deadlier enemies. As you grow stronger, take on more difficult challenges, such as attacking forts and plundering settlements. And, if you're bold enough, engage in dynamic events, like taking down heavily laden merchant ships and their fleet of warship escorts. Now, it's up to you to write your own story. Remember, there is no one path to follow, no one way to play. The world of Skull and Bones is yours to discover.